Hi everyone, and welcome to a new series I'm calling FTO Friday. Today we're going to be going over sort of a primer. Maybe you've just picked up the Dianzheng FTO, brand new, and you've looked at the instruction booklet. It's kind of a weird method. It's not very fast, not very efficient. You want something better, and you've gone to YouTube and you found Ben Sisko's tutorial, and you go, great, I'm going to learn this. Oh wow, that's a lot. It's a lot of information. It's quite complicated. But you've managed it, you've learned it. What do we do from here? Okay, so there are a lot of great resources online. Ben's tutorial is good, and he has a long series of videos of sort of taking the next steps, advancing the method. Some of them are outdated, some of the advice is really good. It's kind of hard to sift through all of it. But I still think it's worth taking a look at if you're serious about picking up this event and getting faster, because you can always have it on, try the examples he gives, and then go from there. There are also some really good tutorials for the last layer. We have a newish concept called Tuluk TCP, which makes last layer so much easier. We'll get into that. But apart from that, a really useful resource is to go on the Discord server, where we have a community, tons of resources there, loads of people happy to help and get you started. And we also have a rankings form. So when you've finally timed a solve and you want to submit it, you can go to the rankings, linked in the description. The first time you submit something, you need to provide a video of you solving. Doesn't have to be the time you've submitted, just so we know you actually can solve the thing. Obviously, if you're submitting a 45-second single and your video is 50 seconds, that's perfectly reasonable. But if you're submitting a video that's like 4 minutes long, we might ask you maybe to show us a time that's closer to your PB. Apart from that, let's get started with kind of breaking down the solve itself. I wanted to give some advice on each step for a beginner to intermediate kind of level. So maybe is a neater and shorter resource than going through Ben's whole playlist, most of which is really good, by the way. But this is just another place to have some of that info. I'm going to scramble the puzzle. I've generated a random state scramble, and I've specifically cherry-picked a scramble which will have kind of a slightly tricky first center. All right, here we go. I'll put the scramble on screen, in the description, all that stuff. So if we have a look at this, we don't have a single block made, no large trap, no small trap, nothing. So we're going to talk about how we approach the first center. There's a triple here. I'm going to ignore it, okay? This is for beginner stuff. This is just a primer to get you started. So the first thing that I would recommend you start doing is building a large trap. So if I show you, this is a large trap. As a reminder, it's 2 edges and 1 triangle between them. And you have to make sure your color scheme is right. So for beginners, a great way to do that is look at a corner piece. So I've got the edge here, red and white, and there's red and white here. So I know the purple edge would go here based on this corner. And I therefore know if it's red and purple here, then blue must go here. So if I wanted to make a large trap with these pieces, it would be red and white, white triangle, and blue and white edge would go here. Okay, so there's my blue and white edge, and I can make a pair with one move. This is where I've got this triangle, bring it up to pair with that edge. And then if I do a U move, now I've brought this into the slice to match up with my red edge like this. So now I have a large trap. So I'll do that again. I'm doing RU R prime. So R matches the pair, U brings this into the right layer, and R prime pairs these guys up. I now have a large trap. And then over here, okay, so if I was being advanced and fancy, I would just put this triple in, because that makes a nice block. We're not going to do that. We're going to pretend that's not there. Okay, so I've got these 3 pieces left. Now, a piece of advice, when you're building your small trap, which is going to be 1 edge plus 3 triangles, you only need R and U moves, or rather you can try and move all the pieces until you just need R and U moves to build it. So I've put my large trap here so that I have this R layer as working space. I know that if I do this, no matter how many times I do this, I won't break up my large trap. So I'm holding it somewhere that I know is safe. Another place that will be safe is on the left here, back left. But I've just got it here. I can see that it's going to be okay. If I have a look, I've got a triangle in the R layer already and an edge. So maybe if I move the edge out of the R layer, I can pair these two up like this. And then look, there's the other triangle. So I can do a U prime and then pair these two up. And then that can just be inserted. So I'll do that again. I've got my triangle here, an edge here. And my other triangle is in the R layer. Again, we're ignoring all these triples. So I can do a U prime, match these two up, then another U prime and match the other end up, one more U prime and insert it. So when it comes to your when you're inspecting the puzzle and you're trying to work out what to start with, I recommend most beginners start by building their large trap first and try and find that every time you inspect. It can be tricky and sometimes you'll get the color scheme wrong. It happens. But what you can do to help with this is untimed solves, so where you're not actually stressing and trying to rush and get a fast time, but also untimed inspection, just unlimited inspection. You know, you scramble the puzzle and you just sit there and have a think about how you can build your large trap. Because this is not, this puzzle is 90% intuitive when you solve it, which is hard. Like, this is not intuitive when you start out. So you need to spend time with no time pressure. So untimed inspection, untimed solves, that will help you develop your intuition, give you the space to do it. Right. Next, we are going to look at our triples. I'm going to ignore that this is a super easy triple. I'm going to pretend that's not there. Here's a corner, and I see there's a triangle here. I can match these guys up. Easy peasy. But let's say that this wasn't here. I didn't have a good case. This was the only red triangle I saw. So if the white sticker is facing towards you and you want to match up this triangle here to this side of the corner, you can do R prime, U, R prime. And now they're matched up. If you want to match this triangle with this corner, it's more moves. It's R, U, R prime, U prime, R, like that. So generally, a good pattern to look out for is when it's in this spot for this corner, for this sticker, because it's only 3 moves. Now, let's have a look. Okay, there's a purple here and a purple here, and then my last purple's there. First things first, let's get this matched up part of your triple out of the working space so that we can get started on building our purple. So this triangle here, I could, now the stick is facing up, I can match up this and this with R, U prime, R prime. There's one pattern. Another pattern is this one. I can match with R prime, U, R. And then this final one down here, you can rotate and it's just R, U prime, R. So generally speaking, you probably only need 7, 8, 9 moves to build a triple. So let's just say I do this one. R, U, R prime. Sorry, R prime, U, R. Just that's what's comfortable. And then I'll put this triple in with an F prime. I'm kind of flicking it like a D prime. And the reason for that is that I can then look for my next corner. There it is. Nice thing to do when you finish your first center, look for a white sticker on one of your corners, and that will be all you need to look for. Okay, so here we have the corner here and the same color triangle in sort of this same line. So if I bring this to the R layer with a U move, then I know I've got 3 moves to match these guys up. It's going to be R, U prime, R. matches them up. Once again, there's the corner facing that way, and then these two match, R, U, R. R, U prime, R, sorry. And then matching these guys up, we put it into this layer, R, U, R. Again, it's over here, stickers facing up. These need to match, so R, U, R. And then I'll do a BL and a U to line those guys up here. So that's a little example of first two triples. Take your time with it. It's not the most complicated step, but it's not the easiest to look ahead for. Sometimes you have bad cases and you feel like you have to do an F move or whatever. My general advice at a beginner stage is mostly just take your time, don't rush, practice your untimed solves again. Don't stress too much about first two triples. They're not a super intense, complicated step, but if you find that it's taking you 5 or 6 moves to match one triangle piece with a corner piece, you might have an easier time. There might be an easier case for you. Let's look at our second center. So when people start out, they often will solve the same color second center every time. You can stop doing that now. What you need to do is instead look for the easiest or best cases. As an example, I actually see here that my best case is gray because I can put the blue and gray in the R layer and match up to make a large trap and then solve this. But that's a little bit advanced, and I didn't know where the red and gray edge was. I just knew that that would be the best thing to do because it's, a huge amount of it's already made. So let's think about how I worked that out. I know with my color scheme, you can even check here, blue and with blue and gray on this point, this has to be red and gray. Okay, so I know if I put this in the R layer, then whatever edge, the edge that I need to match up needs to be there. So I can do an RY prime. Oh, it's already there. Fantastic. Even if it was here, I would just do a U move and set it up. And the reason I'm looking for that is because I see here a whole small trap, and I'm not trying to build a large trap with this. Normally, I'd recommend people try and do that. That is a pretty good shout. For example, I've got a pair here. I could make a large trap with one move on orange there. So I wouldn't blame someone for doing that instead. So this is just an example of a nice easy case you can have. I'm going to ignore that. We're going to pretend that doesn't exist. And instead we're going to try, just adjusting my camera. Now you can see the coaster that I tried to hide out of frame. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, instead of doing gray, we're just going to pick a different color. In this case, I see that it's one move to make a large trap here. Ta-da! And I know this is correct because I know my color scheme. And with practice, you too will learn your color scheme. But we can double check. So if we go to the orange here, blue, purple, yellow, clockwise. That's alphabetical order, BPY. And then here we've got blue to purple to yellow. Okay, so this is correct. Now, having it like this, we need to move this out of the R layer. So R wide U prime. And you'll notice there's our triangle. Here's our other pair. What I would probably do is actually move this pair to the middle layer so that I don't break it up with any other R moves. And remember, I need to have my orange triangle up here to match with this. There's my large trap. R wide, U prime, R wide. Put it at the back, we don't need to see it. Okay, now that I've got this here, I just need to do a U move and R prime to match up my small trap. R wide, U, and then I personally would R wide, R prime like this, so that my orange center is on the U face. Orient your center. Now pay attention to what color this edge is. I need to find the other blue and something edge, which is there. How handy. Point is, when you're looking ahead for the next center, this is going to tell me that here, this edge has to be something blue, gray and blue in this case. Now, if I look at this situation, I can't make a large trap with these guys. This is not correct color scheme. So I have to make my large trap with this one and this one. When it comes to your last two centers, some people will always make their large trap, say on this face or on this face. You need to be flexible. You need to be comfortable doing either. In this instance, this large trap is wrong anyway. You can check because yellow should be here and then look, purple should be here. So one option is R wide, R prime, U prime, R to make this large trap. Another option would be to bring up, say, this edge with R wide, U prime, R wide prime, and then R, U prime, R prime like that. Both is acceptable. We're actually going to do the green first because that's easier. Because I see it's 1, 2, 3, 4 to make a large trap, U prime. And then RY prime to put it away. This one's correct, and we actually have a lovely three mover here. R, U prime, R prime finishes this. Now, while I'm doing that, I'm paying attention to if my other center is oriented. So in this case, the yellow is on the right-hand side, which is correct. That's oriented correctly. And here I can do a BL or an R wide. And then I could do U prime to orient my last center. But something I invite you guys to pay attention to. Look where your white sticker is for this. This is the last piece to go in. This is your last bottom triple corner. If I just do a U prime here, it's stuck in the slot. Instead of doing that, let's rotate so that the center is on the front face. And we're going to go to edge in front. I'm going to do a U, R prime, this orients this center, and then a U prime. Now, all the centers are oriented, and this is in the sort of working space again. There are two ways to complete your last bottom triple. You can rotate, start matching up and insert it, or you can simply not rotate and match it up. So here, I'm not going to rotate, which is a little bit trickier for some people. I found it harder when I first started, so I invite you to give it a go. I need blue to match with blue, so I do an R move to match them up. And then I'm going to do a flipping algorithm to flip this pair. I'm also going to flip, well, I could flip any, but let's say I see this red triangle, I want to match it with this. I'm going to flip these two pairs. So if you were in this orientation, you do like L, R prime, L prime, R. Now we're in this orientation, we can go to edge in front and perform U, R prime, U prime, R. Exactly the same moves, just in a different orientation. And then doing an R move matches this up. So for last bottom triple, I think a good thing to do is pay attention to when your corner might be stuck in the bottom slot and avoid that if you can. A good way to avoid it is to, look ahead to where the corner will be as you're orienting your centers. And then here, there's many ways to insert this. If you stay in this orientation, we bring the slot down to here, edge in front, U, R, U prime, R prime. I do apologize for my bad finger tricks today. My arms are tired. And then just an BL to orient that. Okay. I haven't got a ton of advice for last bottom triple for intermediates and beginners because it's a hard step. It's difficult. You should only need to use 2 flipping algorithms maximum to match up your triple, and then you'll only need 1 sledge or hedge or type insertion to put it into its slot. So at most, you should only really need to do, 15 moves? Because it will be 3 times 4, and then let's say you had to do a U move before and then a U between each of those steps. Then you have to do 16 moves. You should not be any more than 16 to 20 moves on your last bottom triple, okay? So again, practice those untimed solves where you take your time and think, how can I do this in the most efficient way? is there an easier way to do it? Why am I constantly doing a U and then flipping and doing a U and then flipping? Try to keep rotations to a minimum. Try to keep the move count down. Take your time. Last three triples. I want to briefly cover the different ways we can solve last three triples. There are sort of 4 stages. We learn last three triples with Ben by matching up the same color and then matching up and so on. We match up pairs, we pair up same color triples and then perform flips and all that good stuff. I've actually set up to the wrong case, but it doesn't matter. I will do another flip. Let's say we were here instead. So the first thing we learn is to build the pairs where we match the colors of the triangles to their corners. The next thing we learn is what's called offset pair formation. This is where the triangles match with the corners, but they could also be a 3-cycle off. Let me grab the other FTO. Here we have 3 pairs made, but you'll notice that the triangles need to cycle clockwise and then they'll be solved. There you go, there's a solved pair formation. And if I give it to you again, here's an offset pair formation. So the reason this is called offset pair formation is because we still have 3 triples where each of them have 2 different sets of colors. Red and blue, blue and purple, purple and red. If instead we had something like this is not offset pair formation because we have a 2 swap of triangles, not a 3 cycle. Anyway, let's look at how we would go about solving this case with offset pair formation. So I've got red and blue. So my other pair options are going to be purple and red and purple and blue. So here's my blue and my purple. So we'll do a flip to pair these guys up. And then we've got purple and red to pair up. So we put those in. Now you'll notice something. In Ben's beginner tutorial, this is annoying because we're going to have to do a couple of flips to take this out. So we do hedge like this, and then we'll sledge them to solve the triangles. Then we have our corner perms, and that's us done. That's sort of the beginner way of approaching last 3 triples. There is another way to approach last 3 triples. I'm just going to maybe just do a few of these. So in Ben's beginner method, the idea was that we would pair up triangles with corners, solve the triangles, then solve the corners. There is another method called 2-look TCP. This is where we're actually going to solve the corners first. So in this case, no, I don't know 2-look TCP. So I think this is what you're supposed to do. I've solved the corners, and then one of my triangles is done, the other 2 aren't. So I know an algorithm now to solve the triangles. Thank goodness it was that case, because I actually know that algorithm. So that's 2-look TCP. The advantage of 2-look TCP is that we can have cases like this, where you have a 2 swap of triangles. You don't care how the triangles are arranged. You care how the corners are done first. Then you solve the layer, and then, okay, I've actually got the same swap again. And then we solve the triangles. Very nice. But there's something after that. There's another set of algs you can learn. Okay, all right, here we go. So let's say I reached last 3 triple stage. If I were to pair up these 2, Now I've got this annoying case here, so I'm not going to do that because, again, we don't care about how our pairs are matched up. I'm going to match these two guys, and then I'm going to flip just these. So I'm flipping this onto the top layer, flipping this corner down. Okay, this stage here, I've made my pairs. This configuration of the puzzle is called pair formation. We have formed pairs, pair formation. At this point, you can learn a set of 18 algorithms called TCP, and they will allow you to solve the puzzle from this point with a single alg. So I don't need to solve the corners and then the triangles. TCP solves triangles and corners. It's the triangle corner permutation. So that's what that is for. TCP is all your different lovely sort of, it's kind of like PLL on FTO. So here I've got these guys, and I can make a pair there, and then make the other pair here. Okay, and then let's make sure we get the alg right, and we're solved. There is one last thing you can learn short of learning one look last layer, because that is a whole big, enormous exercise. Probably not worth learning the full set. Doesn't matter. Especially for beginners and intermediates, I'm just telling you kind of what is in the future, what's ahead of you, what you can learn next. The final thing to consider learning is what we call OLP. I can't remember what it stands for. Orientation to the last pair. I don't know, something like that. Point is, you will have some configuration of your corners and your triangles where all you care about is whether or not these 6 triangles are yellow, as in the top layer color, and where they are. So here, because I've got these guys aren't matched up, there's probably a sweet short alg, but another thing you can do with just hedges and sledges and U's is from this angle U, that's made a pair here, and then R, B prime, R prime, B, and then a U. Now I have pair formation. OLP teaches you which algs address each of those cases. So OLP is not that useful for the entire, like to learn the whole set, but there are difficult cases which are perhaps worth picking up to help you speed up your last 3 triples stage, or your pair formation stage rather. All that being said, I highly, highly recommend that you spend time with offset pair formation and you spend time learning 2-look TCP. I think that's one of the most useful things that's come out in the last couple of years. So thanks, Kit Clement, for that. Highly recommend that. Beyond that, I think the biggest piece of advice actually for any puzzle solver is have fun. If something is boring or frustrating you, or you're not enjoying it, you're not finding it that interesting, change it up, change to a different puzzle for a bit, take a break. If you're having fun, you're going to want to practice, you're going to be motivated, and you're going to improve more. So do what is fun, do what's enjoyable. Don't sweat too much, don't worry about constantly breaking PBs or learning every single algorithm. It'll all come with time. Have fun.